Discover the heartwarming journey of a billionaire's crippled daughter. An incredible maid reveals the true meaning of friendship. In the lavish expanse of her marble and gold home, Emily felt like a pearl trapped in an oyster. Her father's wealth afforded her every luxury, but the unyielding truth was she was paralyzed and alone. Gazing out the grand, paned windows, she watched children laugh and play, mothers scurry with grocery bags, and couples stroll by, hand in hand. They were vibrant, alive, and she was stuck. The wheelchair wasn't just a mode of transport, it became a cage, isolating her in an existence that mirrored gilded confinement instead of freedom. Everything changed with Sofia's arrival. The 25-year-old maid burst into Emily's life like a whirlwind. With her unruly curls and heartwarming smile, she brought a dynamic energy that was contagious. Sofia lived in a modest neighborhood, making the long trek to work while caring for her sick mother and studying nursing. Despite the weight of her circumstances, she embodied a fire and unyielding spirit that shone through every worn-out uniform. A light in Emily's shadowed world, their friendship blossomed over quiet, shared moments. They'd sit in the garden, where bright petals danced under the sun. Sofia would talk animatedly about her dreams, igniting in Emily a yearning she hadn't felt in years. Her heart swelled every time Sofia laughed, that melody creeping into the corners of Emily's loneliness. But with every joyful fit of giggles, a hint of anxiety simmered as her father's voice echoed in her mind, dictating the perfect future he envisioned for her, a future that had no room for friendship with someone like Sofia. Then came the devastating news. Sofia faced eviction due to unfair circumstances, a landlord's greed that preyed on those already vulnerable. Emily's gut twisted, realizing that she had taken her father's money for granted. For all her frustrations, Emily never truly understood what it was like to fear losing her home or to fight tooth and nail to get by. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Drawing from the strength Sofia exuded, Emily decided to confront her father. It felt like climbing Everest, but this was about more than her. It was about justice for Sofia. She stood in the living room, her heart pounding in her chest, ready for a storm. But as tensions flared and words spiraled into chaos, the moment spiraled into misunderstanding, ripping apart the connection they had fought to build. Days passed, the ache of betrayal clouding her heart. During a local community event, the urgency gripped her, fueling the realization that silence would be her greatest enemy. Would she seize the moment to defend her friend? The crowd buzzed with anticipation, and Emily felt the weight of her father's stern gaze, the sweet song of justice calling her name. Could she mend the rift? Could she challenge the elitist whispers of her father's world? Hope and fear collided as Emily found herself on the brink of a choice that could alter both their lives forever. Emily's heart raced as she gripped the armrests of her wheelchair, the wooden floor beneath her vibrating with the clamor of voices. Each laugh, each cheer from the crowd, felt like a cacophony echoing her internal struggle. Her eyes darted to Sofia, who stood at the edge of the gathering, tension etched on her face. The flicker of hope she saw when their eyes met brought an overwhelming wave of emotion crashing over her. Could she really do this? Emily. The voice that broke her thoughts was soft but resolute. It was Sofia's, though it barely reached her through the rising noise. She shook her head slightly, as if trying to warn her not to proceed, but Emily could see the hope fluttering deep in Sofia's eyes. Maybe this was the moment they had worked so hard to reach. Taking a deep breath, she pushed herself away from the shadows of doubt that had loomed over her for too long. It was not just about confronting her father or the gilded cage that suffocated her, it was about standing up for what was right. With every ounce of courage she possessed, she wheeled herself toward her father, who stood in the midst of the crowd, a pillar of authority that loomed larger than life itself. "Dad!" She called, her voice steady, cutting through the din. Heads turned, and for a moment, the world around her fell silent. "What is it, Emily?" He turned, his expression a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. "This isn't right." The conviction in her voice caught him off guard. She pushed herself to speak. "Sofia needs help. You can't just let her be thrown out of her home. She's a good person, and the way you treat people like her." Her voice cracked, but she pressed on. "It's not fair. It's not just." Gasps swept through the small crowd that gathered, friends and acquaintances who had watched this exchange unfold. They whispered amongst themselves, disbelief mingling with intrigue. "Emily, this is not the place for her," father began, voice cold and clipped. "No, Dad." She cut him off, emboldened by the weight of her own words. "This is exactly the place. You say we give back, but you're not even willing to see the people who need it most. We can change lives, do you realize that? Sofia deserves a chance like anyone else." The air crackled with tension, and Emily saw the shock ripple through her father's sharp features. This was not the submissive daughter he was used to, not the one who carried on the family name with quiet dignity. This was Emily, the woman who had unearthed her voice, standing strong amid a sea of uncertainty. In that moment, she caught sight of Sofia again, her friend's expression shifting from concern to something resembling awe. "Emily," her father's voice softened, but there was a begrudging resistance behind it. A mix of fear and stubbornness bloomed inside her. "I won't back down, Dad. This is the person I choose to stand with." The words hung heavy in the air. And in that moment, a collective breath was taken by the crowd. They could see the defiance in her eyes. They were witness to the transformation unfolding before them, a daughter declaring her truth, a young woman refusing to stay silent. Sofia stepped closer as murmurs broke out among the audience. Could it be? Could hope arise from this chaos? Or was Emily now facing a daunting confrontation that would shatter her world of privilege? Sofia's voice was barely a whisper, a thread of fear intertwined with pride flickering in her eyes. As she was enveloped in the throes of anxiety and hope, Emily knew there would be consequences, but it was now or never. What would her father do? Would he finally see the value in Sofia, a value that extended beyond wealth and status? Or would this moment bring their relationship to a point of no return? Emily felt her pulse quicken as every eye in the room was fixed on her. She could sense the shift in energy, the conversation buzzing with anticipation and disbelief. It was as if the moment had frozen in time, leaving her alone with her thoughts and the heavy gaze of her father. "What have you done, Emily?" he asked, his voice low yet laced with a mixture of embarrassment and anger. A spark ignited in the crowd, murmurs growing louder. She stood firm. "I've done what you never could. I've chosen to stand for those who can't stand up for themselves." Her breath hitched slightly, but she pressed on, emboldened by the moment. The sound of her father's sharp intake of breath rippled through the audience as Emily eyed the crowd. Faces filled with surprise began to soften, revealing supportive smirks and nods. In that split second, hope felt tangible, electric. "Think of the impact we could have," Emily continued, speaking louder now, her confidence growing. "You've always talked about philanthropy, about giving back, yet here you are, turning a blind eye to people like Sofia. What kind of legacy do you really want to leave behind?" Silence hung thick in the air, punctuated only by the distant echoes of laughter that now felt distant and hollow. For a second, she thought she saw a flicker of doubt in her father's stoic expression. The crowd was shifting, leaning in, exchanging knowing looks. And then, amid the tension, an unfamiliar voice rang out. "What she says is true." A bold woman stepped forward from the edge of the gathering. "I've seen Sofia work tirelessly, always smiling, always generous. We all have." The crowd began to murmur again, this time in agreement, voices rising like a swell of support. Emily's heart soared. With every nod and glance of approval, she felt her resolve deepening. Emily's father looked around, gripping the edge of the table, his expression darkening once more. "This is not how we do things, Emily," he snapped, frustration boiling just beneath the surface. "But this is exactly how it should be done," she shot back, her own voice surprising her with its strength. "Change begins here, today. I refuse to live in the shadows of your legacy that overlooks real people. I want to start a foundation that supports those in need with Sofia by my side." A soft, teary-eyed Sofia stepped into view, her hands clasped together. Emily's heart ached for her friend, who stood at the brink of losing everything. Would she find the courage to speak up? "Emily, this is..." Sofia hesitated, her voice barely above a whisper. But just as her friend faltered, Emily saw something shift within her. A determination sparked within those eyes. "I have something to say," Sofia finally declared, stepping forward into the light, her hands trembling but her chin lifted high. "I don't want charity. I want dignity. And I want to show the world that we can heal together." Gasps fluttered through the crowd once more. Emily felt her heart swell with pride. This was the moment they had waited for, a chance to turn the tide, to change everything. But would it be enough to break through the wall built by her father? "Think about what you want to fight for, Dad," Emily urged quietly, aware of the weight of her words. "You can be a voice for change, a defender for the defenseless, or you can keep pushing us away. But know this, I won't back down. Not now." The clash of emotions swirled within her father's expression, something stark crossing his features. Emily held her breath, anticipation taut in the air. Would he embrace this change, or would he retreat into the shadows of his privilege once more? As the crowd stirred, Emily knew they were all waiting for his response. She prepared herself for whatever fallout might come. But what would he choose? Would he remain a pillar of authority, or could he find a way to bridge the gap that had always divided them? The silence lingered, stretching like a tightrope. Emily locked eyes with her father, trying to read the storm in his expression. Would he find the courage to step away from his comfortable life, one that seemed to only benefit himself and his ambitions? Or would he dismiss her, both her and the hope of countless others? Finally, her father took a deep breath, his stoic facade cracking as he leaned back, rubbing his temples. The room was tense, every heartbeat echoing in the stillness. "This isn't just about you, Emily," he murmured, his voice low but with an edge. "There are consequences. You have no idea what you're saying." Emily felt the shift beneath her feet. "But I do understand. I've seen the lives that can change with a little support. You taught me that. I've watched you devote time to causes that barely scratched the surface. This is different. We can do something real." Sofia, emboldened by Emily's passion, stepped closer. "All we need is a chance. To feel valued, to contribute. Imagine if this foundation inspires others. Real change can ripple across communities, turning despair into hope." The room buzzed with murmurs again, a current of energy rallying around the two young women. This momentum, however slight, felt like a fragile thread, one that could snap under the weight of her father's disbelief. Emily could see the internal battle raging inside him. What was hidden behind the facade of wealth and influence? Fear, perhaps? Or maybe a hint of doubt? She had never known her father to back down from a challenge, but this felt different. A familiar voice broke through her thoughts. "And what about us? We deserve better." An elderly man with gray hair and kind eyes stood, his frail figure shaking slightly. "Many of us have suffered long enough under systems that forget we exist. We need people like you to step up and advocate for us." "But it's his legacy at stake," Emily's father shot back, his voice cracking as he tried to regain control of the moment. "You think this will earn respect? It will only invite criticism." "Dad," Emily pleaded, every ounce of her feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. "Respect comes from honesty. From supporting those that matter most, not hiding behind money and power. For a second, the room held its breath. Emily's father met her gaze, and for the briefest moment, she thought he might soften, might come around to the truth she was trying so desperately to share. But then he turned away, his jaw clenched. It felt like a door slamming shut. Change is risky, Emily. You have to weigh the costs. His words hit like a blunt object, and she felt the weight of rejection combined with the desperation in the air. Sofia reached out, placing a hand on Emily's arm, grounding her in that tumultuous moment. Don't give up. Even if it feels like one door is closing, others will open. Together, we can find a way. Emily took a shaky breath, longing to believe Sofia's words. The room buzzed with unresolved tension, people were shifting their weight, eyes darting from one face to another, each person caught between allegiance to wealth and the call to action that was echoed by Emily and Sofia. As her heart raced, Emily knew there was no way to retreat. I won't abandon this, she declared, stronger than before. We will stand together, no matter the risks. It's time to show the world what true strength looks like. Without waiting for her father's response, she stepped away from the dais, her purpose clear. The whispers of the crowd filled the air around her, a curious mix of doubt and excitement. Did she have the power to change the hearts of those in their privilege-wrapped bubbles? Could her father truly relent and join them in this messy, complicated quest for redemption? With every heartbeat, Emily felt the tide begin to shift. The moment stretched, possibilities hanging in the air like a fragile thread. But at what cost would that shift come? The room's energy pulsed with uncertainty as Emily stepped away from the dais, feeling the echoes of her words vibrating around her, mingling with the hesitations of those still seated. She glanced back at her father, who was now staring out the large windows, his expression unreadable. In that moment, she could almost see the weight of his choices pulling at him, a delicate battle playing out between his love for her and the shield of his success. Sofia nudged her gently. You did great, Em. Emily forced a smile, but her heart sank at the sight of the crowd's fractured support. Some nodded in agreement, others looked puzzled or even concerned. The elderly man who had spoken earlier hadn't sat down, his eyes searching for a glimmer of hope amid the turmoil. Do you really believe we can change things? He asked, his voice raspy yet filled with conviction. Because I'm tired of waiting. I know we can, Emily replied, her own uncertainty flashing within her. But I need your help. Together, we can build something that matters. As the crowd began to murmur amongst themselves, the mix of hope and despair in the air weighed heavily on her. They needed a leader. Someone they could rally around. Outside, the sun began to dip, casting a warm golden hue across the room. Its light illuminated the faces of those gathered, revealing a tapestry of emotions from longing and sadness to fierce determination. Emily took a step toward the audience, searching their faces. I know change won't come easy, she said, her voice stronger now. There will be hurdles, critics, and the mysteries of failure. But I believe every setback can be a setup for something greater. Are we truly willing to try? A wave of nods spread through the crowd, igniting a spark of courage within her. Someone shouted, yes, and soon others joined in a chorus that grew with every heartbeat. Then, a familiar voice broke through. You really think we can get through to him? It was Gabriella, her father's assistant and a woman who had been with him for years. She stepped forward, her brow furrowing in concern. Your father is powerful, Emily. His world is complicated. Emily felt a twinge of frustration but also a flicker of understanding. Everyone here was juggling their own anchors of loyalty and fear. I know it won't be simple, she admitted. But it has to start somewhere. It can't be all about him. Not anymore. Sofia interjected, we can create a community that stands behind you, Emily. With your father or without him, we'll find a way to make a difference. You're not alone in this. Her words instilled a newfound resilience within Emily, filling her with purpose. She'd spent too long waiting for permission, living in someone else's shadow. Whatever her father believed, this was her moment, and she would not waste it. As the evening air filled with quiet discussions and ideas, Emily felt a surge rush through her, a collective determination that transcended individual fears, but deep down, gnawing at her thoughts, was that lingering question: what if her father didn't come around? What if this risk cost not only his approval but their relationship? The applause snapped her back to the present as supporters began to rise and cheer, their voices blending into a powerful anthem of hope. In their eyes, she saw what she had been longing for, a spark igniting, a chance for action. "You are our voice," someone called out. "Let us." With a mix of excitement and dread swirling inside her, Emily raised her hand to quell the cheers. "Let us begin by coming together, discussing what our foundation can really mean. We can start tomorrow." But as she spoke, doubts crawled back into her mind. Would her father still be a barrier? Or could he stand beside her and champion the vision they ignited, and would she have the strength to keep going if he didn't? With that thought weighing heavily on her heart, she scanned the crowd, seeking the faces of those who would walk this path with her. Emily's fight was just beginning, and she would have to confront not only the obstacles outside but also the ones within her own family. Would she be brave enough to face the most difficult challenge of all, speaking to her father again and risking everything? Emily remained on the dais, her heart racing as she tried to revel in the applause. A new surge of courage flooded through her, mixed with the gnawing feeling of dread about her father. She remembered the warmth in the crowd's voices, how the hope reflected in their eyes reignited something long dormant within her. She wanted to believe they could make a difference together. Sofia leaned in again. "You inspired them, Em. And now you've got to keep that momentum going." With a nod, Emily stepped off the platform, the cheers still echoing behind her. But with every step, the anticipation grew heavy. Could she, a daughter torn between her father's world and her own vision, really do this? In the corner of the room, a figure caught her eye. It was Gabriella, her face lined with worry as she observed the crowd dispersing. Emily felt a twinge in her gut. The assistant had always been a gatekeeper of sorts, holding the keys to her father's realm. "Gabriella," Emily called, her voice a thread of tension. She approached, the thrumming of her heartbeat drowning out the fading applause. "What do you think? Am I making a mistake?" Gabriella held her gaze, the warmth replaced by a hint of caution. "You have genuine support, Emily. But your father's influence is vast. He could pull strings you don't even see. You're walking a tightrope." "I'm not asking him to join me," Emily insisted, her voice gaining volume as if to drown the fears lurking in the corners of her mind. "I'm asking him to see where he's wrong. I want to fight for everyone who has been overlooked. For a chance to change things. Just remember," Gabriella warned softly, "how much he cherishes the life he built. This isn't just a professional conversation. It's personal. It's family." Emily took a deep breath, smoothing the wrinkle of her dress, trying to ground herself amidst the turbulent thoughts. How could she explain that her fight wasn't just about politics? It was about love, about connection, about building a community that should start with their own family. What if I could convince him? What if he'd listen? My moments with him were always about creating something together. "You'll need allies to support you," Gabriella replied, her tone shifting. "Your father's defenses are strong. You have to be prepared for resistance." Emily weighed the advice. "So, what do I do? Just keep waiting for him to notice what I'm doing? I can't afford to waste any more time. Find a way to connect with him again." "Start small," Gabriella suggested, a trace of empathy in her eyes. "Rebuild that bridge. You might be surprised." With renewed determination, Emily broke away, her mind racing. The echoes of the crowd's support still danced in her ears, but the looming question of her father's involvement remained. Could she approach him without causing a rift? Later that evening, in the quiet of her room, she pulled out her journal, the one filled with dreams and aspirations, hopes and fears. She decided to write him a letter. The ink felt heavy as she penned down her thoughts, placing every ounce of love and conviction into her words. It wasn't just a plea, it was a call to unite, to see beyond their differences and fight for what truly mattered. When she placed the letter aside, a strange calm settled in her heart. Yet a persistent doubt tugged away at her. Would he take it to heart? Would he read it at all? Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, but tonight she was content in knowing she had taken a step forward. But just as Emily was about to close her eyes, a faint sound caught her attention. The door creaked open slowly. Her heart raced as she turned, half expecting it to be her father. Stepping through the threshold, would he finally hear her out? Would this be the moment they could bridge their divide? The door swung wide, revealing her father. His tall frame filled the entryway, shadowed by the dim light of the hallway. For a moment, Emily felt the ground shift beneath her. He looked older, wearier, his usual poised demeanor gone, replaced by something uncharacteristic. Was it doubt? Regret? "What are you doing up so late?" he asked, the warmth in his voice overshadowed by a hint of irritation. Emily hesitated. She wanted to shout, to explain, but the words tangled in her throat. Memories rushed back, those childhood evenings filled with laughter, sitting together, dreaming of making a difference in the world. Now, that dream felt miles away. "I've been thinking," she finally said, the tremor in her voice barely contained. "I wrote you a letter. It's about everything." "A letter?" he echoed, his expression shifting to confusion. "Emily, we've talked about this. You know how your mother thinks of these things. It's not just about her, Dad," she interjected, her heart pounding. "It's about us, our family. The people we can help." He crossed his arms, the very posture she recognized from countless meetings, the barrier he used to deflect challenges. "And what do you think you can change? You've barely started in this world." Emily felt the weight of his disbelief, the churn of old doubts creeping in. "I know I'm new to all of this. But what if I'm right?" He took a step closer, lowering his voice, a tactic she always found effective. "Right or wrong, this doesn't affect only you. You don't understand the ramifications of what you want. But I can't stand by any more. People need us." The passion surged through her, shoving aside the fear. "I can't just accept the status quo because it's easy or comfortable." He sighed, shaking his head. "You're not thinking clearly. This is a dangerous path. You risk everything we've built." As hurt boiled in her stomach, she fought for calm. "Don't you see? They are risking everything every day. We have a chance to be the change." For a flicker of a moment, she noticed something shift in his eyes. Was it understanding? Perhaps regret? "Emily," he began, but she pressed on, urgency slicing through their momentary connection. "Please, just read the letter. It's everything I can't put into words right now. I need you to see it from my side." He hesitated, a visible battle raging within him. She could almost see the memories flashing behind his eyes, the dinners, the celebrations, the challenges they faced together. Did he ever consider the impact of their wealth beyond their estate? With an exhausted sigh, he ran a hand through his hair. "I'll read it, but it cannot be foolish idealism. We need to tread carefully." Something softened in Emily, an opening, however small. "I only want to make a difference, Dad, for everyone, not just us." With a curt nod, he turned to leave, but not before glancing back once. "If this is going to work, we must discuss it like adults. No more rebelliousness." "Okay," she replied, hope flickering despite the heaviness still hanging between them. "Just promise you'll see my side." As the door closed behind him, Emily couldn't shake the paralysis of uncertainty that settled over her. Had she made a breakthrough, or had she thrust herself deeper into danger? She sank onto her bed, heart racing like a drum in her chest, filled with anxiety and hope all at once. The path ahead seemed daunting, yet tantalizing. If her father agreed, it could change everything, but what if he rejected her ideas? What if the chasm between them only deepened? With these questions haunting her thoughts, she picked up her journal again. Each stroke of the pen felt like both a weight and a release, reflecting on potential outcomes. What she hoped for was clear. Yet she wondered, would they ever be on the same page, or had she opened a wound too deep to heal? The morning light would soon break, bringing new conversations and choices. Would tomorrow lead them closer, or would it push them further apart? Each moment felt crucial. Emily woke to the soft glow of dawn filtering through her bedroom window. A new day, but the circumstances remained tangled in her mind. She was determined. The letter weighed heavily in her thoughts, each word etched into her memory. Would her father truly understand what she was trying to do? After a restless night, she got out of bed and headed to the kitchen. The familiar smell of coffee hung in the air, a comfort from her childhood, thick with nostalgia. She poured herself a cup, feeling the warmth seep through her fingers. As the sun rose higher, illuminating the house around her, Emily glanced out the kitchen window, watching the vibrant colors of the garden bloom and sway in the gentle breeze. The beauty struck her a reminder of the world outside their walls, untouched and full of potential. But there were too many people unaccounted for within the society they knew. An idea slowly blossomed in her mind, pushing her forward. If her father saw the significance beyond their pristine garden, perhaps he would recognize the needs of those living in the shadows. She heard footsteps behind her and turned to see her father entering the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. His hair, as usual, was tousled from sleep. She sensed the tension already brewing in the air, but she held on tightly to the glimmers of hope. "Good morning, Dad," she said, forcing a smile. "Morning," he replied, pouring himself a cup of coffee, his eyes lingering on the window. "Another perfect day. Maybe we can make it even better," she ventured cautiously, her pulse quickening. "Have you thought about the letter?" He paused, shoulders slumping a little. "I read it." But? What were your thoughts?" She was desperate for clarity. "It's a lot, Emily. I understand where you're coming from, but reality isn't that simple." His voice had a mix of firmness and weariness as he leaned against the counter. "The world isn't simple, Dad. That's the point." She blurted, heat rising in her cheeks. "People are suffering, and we have the resources. We could do so much good." He frowned, then took a deep breath. The sigh seemed to escape him, heavy with burdens. "It's commendable, but we're responsible for what we have. We can't just dive in without a plan. There are consequences to every action." Emily felt the weight of his words. It was always about caution. Her heart ached with frustration. "But isn't it worse if we do nothing at all?" "I don't disagree, but we need to ensure that it's done right. This isn't just about you or me, this affects our entire family's legacy." "Is that all you care about? The legacy?" She immediately regretted her tone, but it poured out like a dam breaking. "It's not just about that." His voice raised, adrenaline pulsing. "You're my daughter. I want to protect you." "Protect me from what?" "From wanting to help others." Her voice shook with emotion. "You taught me that we should support those in need. Am I wrong for wanting to act on what you instilled in me?" Their eyes locked, an unspoken battle raging in the moment. There was a flicker of understanding in his gaze, a shift that made her heart race. Could this be the bridge she was hoping for? Just then, the doorbell rang, pulling them out of their charged moment. The sound reverberated through the hallway, startling both of them. "I'll get it," she offered quickly, relief flooding her as she stepped away from the tension. As she opened the door, Emily was met by a young woman, a bright smile illuminating her face. "Hi. I'm here for the volunteer meeting." Emily's heart skipped. "Volunteer meeting?" She echoed, an idea crashing into her consciousness. Yeah. I heard about your project and wanted to get involved. Emily's mind raced. Here was the affirmation she needed. Come in. Her father's voice filled the background. What project? The tension between them hung thick, but as Emily's thoughts raced, she felt the tides beginning to change. Could this be the moment that ignited everything? And just like that, the narrative shifted, leaving Emily wondering if this young woman was about to lead them in a direction neither of them expected. Emily stepped aside to let the young woman enter. There was an undeniable energy about her, a spark that reminded Emily of her own enthusiasm before the weight of family expectations had settled on her shoulders. I'm Clara. I read your dad's article about community support, and when I heard you were organizing a volunteer meeting, I couldn't wait to come. Clara's voice danced with excitement as she glanced around the kitchen, taking in the familiar surroundings that were so ordinary to Emily but felt enchanted to Clara. Wow, that's amazing. I'm Emily, she replied, trying to mask the racing thoughts in her head. What kind of volunteering have you done? Oh, all kinds. Food drives, tutoring kids, park cleanups, anything I can do to help. Clara beamed, her hands moving animatedly as she spoke. I've always felt that we have to give back, you know? Especially when we're so fortunate. At that moment, Emily felt a warmth spread through her. This was what she had been craving, a connection with someone who shared her passion, who could help bridge the gap between her father's cautious mindset and her own fierce desire for change. She could feel the tension between her and her father hanging in the air, and she hoped he was listening. Clara turned, suddenly aware of the silent listener. And you must be Mr. Harrison. I read all about your charity work. It's impressive. Thanks, but it's a work in progress, he replied, his demeanor shifting slightly. The coolness in his voice softened just a bit. What's your involvement with this project? I'm just a volunteer, but I want to help wherever I can make a difference in people's lives, Clara said, her eyes gleaming with sincerity. I think you guys have such an opportunity here to make a real impact. She glanced at Emily, who felt a mix of hope and desperation. Emily jumped in, seizing the moment. This could be the start of something big, Dad. With Clara's energy and our resources, maybe we could do actual outreach, get involved with families struggling, assist with education, provide emotional support. Her father's brow furrowed. This isn't something you can just jump into, Emily. There's a lot at stake. But what if? Emily hesitated, searching Clara's wide-eyed enthusiasm for strength. What if we started small? A community fair, perhaps? Just to see what people need, how we can make real connections. Clara nodded eagerly. Yes. We could set up tables for information, offer workshops, maybe a fundraiser for local charities. Spread the word, make it inclusive. For a brief second, Emily saw her father's stern expression falter. She could almost detect the gears turning in his mind. You have a vision, he finally said, his voice steady but contemplative. But visions need direction, Emily. They need planning, people who are equipped to handle it. Clara could help with that. Emily rushed out. She has experience. And we have the resources to make a real impact. Even so, it's risky. Before they could delve further, Clara exclaimed, what's the worst that could happen? An event that helps connect the community? You'll be amazed by how much people want to lend a hand when they see something in the works. Emily could see her father's thoughtful expression hardening again. It's not just about connecting people. It's about ensuring that whatever we do is safe, viable, and responsible. Emily's heart sank a little. But what if being safe means doing nothing? They all momentarily fell silent, the weight of their dreams and doubts hanging heavily, but beneath that anxiety, a glimmer of excitement surged through Emily. Would they really take the leap? Could this small spark lead to something monumental? As they stood in the kitchen, the air thick with mixed emotions, Emily felt a surge of courage. Maybe this was the beginning of change. And just as hope seemed within reach, Clara took a step forward, a determined look in her eyes. "I'll help you, Emily. No matter how big or small, let us make it happen together." The words rang like an anthem through the house, echoing against the bonds that had long held them back. In that moment, everything felt possible until the shadows of their past cast doubt once again. Would they be brave enough to step into the unknown? Emily stood in the kitchen, heart racing with anticipation after Clara's rallying words. The atmosphere shimmered with an electric charge, vibrant and full of possibility. Her father's features revealed a shadow of contemplation, battling against years of tradition embedded in their family name. "Fine," he finally said, his voice measured. "You want to try this community fair idea? We will first assess the risks and outline a plan." Emily barely contained her excitement. "Yes. We can bring people together, see what they truly need. It doesn't have to be grand, it just has to be real." As Clara nodded in agreement, Emily imagined the faces of those families outside their gilded life. She envisioned children laughing, parents sharing their stories, and a community growing stronger. This wasn't just a project, it was a movement. The days rolled into weeks, a whirlwind of planning, brainstorming, and late-night discussions. Emily and Clara worked tirelessly, gathering volunteers, reaching out to local organizations, spreading the word through social media and at community centers. The momentum was infectious. Even her father, although cautious, began to see the ripple effects of their efforts. At home, Emily felt as if the walls that once confined her were beginning to melt away. Every interaction with Sofia and Clara painted her world with new colors, visions of change that felt tangible and close. On the day of the fair, the sun shone brightly, a perfect backdrop against the excited chaos unfolding in the garden. Booths dotted the yard, filled with information, local crafts, and faces both familiar and new. The air buzzed with laughter, music, and the warm aroma of food. Emily wheeled herself to the entrance, a radiant smile lighting her face. She scanned the crowd, eyes sparkling at the sight of families interacting, connections forming right before her. Clara had set up a booth where children were painting, their small hands creating expressive masterpieces. As she moved through the sea of people, her heart swelled with joy. She spotted Sofia working alongside others, her laughter ringing out like music, drawing smiles from everyone around her. The magic happening around them was palpable, hope was blooming. "Emily." Clara appeared at her side, her excitement contagious. "Look at everyone. They're so engaged. We're helping them. Can you believe it?" "It's incredible," Emily replied, voice almost trembling from the magnitude of it all. "This is what I wanted to connect, to bring life into those moments." But amid the chaos and jubilation, her father's stern presence loomed like a lingering shadow, a reminder that change hadn't entirely come easy. Just as she pondered this, she spotted him across the yard, observing everything with a mix of pride and disbelief. The moment felt electric. "Dad!" she called out, powering through the crowd. When he turned to her, she saw the weariness pooling in his eyes, trapped between what he had built and what could be. "Look at what's happening, Dad," she urged gently, glancing at the laughter, the joy, and the community forged in those moments. "This is real, and it matters." He hesitated, the grace of emotional struggle playing across his face. Then, he stepped closer, his expression shifting from skepticism to awareness as he took in the vibrant display before him. "You've championed something remarkable, Emily," he finally admitted, his voice low but filled with an unexpected warmth. She beamed, feeling the surge of everything she had fought for wash over them. "We're stronger together. We can make our community better. We should let go of the old ways and embrace this new journey." Silence enveloped them, the sounds of laughter and cheers fading into the background for a heartbeat. After what felt like an eternity, he nodded slowly. "Perhaps you're right. Maybe there's a way for our name to stand for true change." Relief flooded Emily, and she couldn't help the smile that broke wider on her face. "We can do this together." It doesn't have to be a burden. As people around them laughed and welcomed each other into conversations, that delightful moment of connection crackled in the air. Emily felt a deep shift within her. Her father's acknowledgement was more than she had hoped for. The day passed with triumph, conversations blossoming and introductions exchanged. Emily witnessed not only an event but a commitment to change. She saw hope unfolding in every corner. Even her father, standing alongside her now, began to step out, engaging with local leaders and sharing their vision for the future. As twilight cast a golden hue, Emily looked around and felt overwhelming gratitude. No longer alone enclosed by her wheelchair or wealth, she saw herself as part of a community rich in resilience and friendship. Together, they were ready to pave the way for a new understanding of privilege and responsibility. That evening, as the final guests trickled away filled with laughter and stories, Emily turned to Clara and Sofia, heart bursting with gratitude. "We did it. We truly showed how much we could change," she said softly. "Yes." Clara grinned, her eyes sparkling under the dusky glow. Sofia joined in, teary-eyed yet beaming. "And this is just the beginning." In that euphoric moment, Emily realized they had all transformed together, emerging stronger and deeply connected in purpose. With her father now standing by her side, a newfound alliance sparked within her heart. Change was possible, and it wasn't just a distant dream, it was a reality they were living. And with hopeful determination, Emily whispered, "Let us continue to change lives, for everyone out there." It was a promise, a challenge, a pledge to each other, echoing with the hope of generations to come as they stepped into a bold new world together. This was it. They were ready, but now, it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. What did it mean to you? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. You need to support this channel as we unveil more inspiring journeys ahead.